Hello, welcome to today's stream. Starting off a little bit different today without our interview screen. But today we are speaking to Dan Morris, who's an artist from North Wales, digital artist. So, Dan, welcome to the stream. And if you'd like to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. Well, my name is Dan. From Llysfine in North Wales, living in Colwyn Bay. Been a freelance artist for probably going on 10 to 15 years. Well, 10 years, we'll say. Probably learning for 15.
Yeah.
But,
cool.
Yeah, done all sorts from Twitch streaming to like book covers, posters, like private commissions, all sorts, really.
Brilliant. So what we tend to do is we'll do a quick deep dive into your Instagram, and we'll have a little look at some of the past work. If anyone's got any questions, then do feel free to pop them in the chat. Also, if you can let us know if the sound's okay, the background music, voice, if you can hear us, everything okay. So let's throw up your Instagram. Let's have a look. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just click through, and then if you let us know, give us a little talk about each one. We've got a few people in the chat already, sure. Putting a few emotes up as well. So thanks for joining. Hello, everybody. So I'm going to jump on this one because I spotted this one. I've not had a go at the. Is it a Gartic phone game?
Yes.
It's a Twitch game, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a browser game. It's basically something I've been addicted to for the last month or so. Yeah. Where like people on Twitch will stream it, and you can join their games, and it's basically just a way to kind of keep keep like the mind active, and like because it's basically just a random prompt generator.
Yeah. Cool.
So people just write the first thing that comes to mind, and then you have to draw it in 30 to 60 seconds.
That's really good. I mean, so we did something recently where we got a group of students together and just did an art challenge, 15 minutes they had, and we just give them we just had a random generator. Sounds like a really good idea just to sort of keep the creative juices flowing. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Just when you say quick sketch and stuff, you mean the top ones that you've done, you know what I mean? They're very near finished. It's kind of... So this one, we spoke about the other day, didn't we? It's... Netflix.
Yes. Yeah.
It's Sweet
Tooth.
Just
Sweet Tooth. It's called.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I basically watched it and kind of just fell in love with the whole premise of it. And with any artist, if you find something that you like, you just want to draw it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I just kind of started on that.
Well, it's still a program I haven't got around to watching yet. It's on the list. It looks amazing. I think it was it Robert Downey Jr. and his wife that produced it. So it's actually
oh really?
Yeah. It's quite a big budget
I didn't even know that.
production. A couple of people in the chat. Luna Moon Art sounds all right, thank you. And Myco Edit. Gartic's so much fun. Yeah, cool. So it's something I'm gonna take a look at once after the stream. So this one, wanted to try something different on TikTok. So again, I mean...
Oh yeah. Yeah, because like I draw a lot of like people and faces, so I thought like, what haven't I tried before? So
yeah, absolutely pushing
food. It's
new skills.
Like people take a lot of pictures of nice food, so you've got a lot of reference material out there.
Yeah, true. It's kind of everyone's taking pictures. Have you seen? There's a new animation that's on Netflix, Mitchell's versus the Machines, and there's a bit on there where they turn the Wi-Fi off.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, they were running around trying to show people their food because the Wi-Fi's gone down. They can't post it to Instagram. Brilliant. It's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's an amazing end result as well. It's really cool.
Yeah, it turned out really well. I was very happy with that.
There's a new career there, food drawing.
That's what I thought. Like, just another avenue to go down.
Yeah, absolutely. It's cool. I really like the colours on this one. Them greens against the background, amazing. Yeah. So, because I've noticed that you do quite a lot of fan art as well. Is that something that people ask for? Is that just something that you just enjoy doing?
Bit of both. Like, if I haven't got a project in mind, I'll pick a show that I've watched or
Yeah.
like a character I like and just draw them.
I really like this too.
Sometimes you do get like,
Yeah.
oh
Go
yeah,
ahead.
like it's funny because the ones we're looking at now, it's all kind of based around another artist I followed.
Okay.
I wanted to kind of dedicate a bit of time to working on like poses and color structuring, essentially.
I mean, the colors on
So
this are amazing. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's mostly due to what's it called? Can't think of the words. There's a feature in Photoshop called Color Dodge.
Yeah.
Essentially, once you've like put down all your base colors, you can just kind of make light come through.
Yeah. And it really shows.
Just,
I mean,
this
sort
livens
of
up the picture.
reflection on the clothes and stuff. It's really cool. Really good effect. I really like the colours on that. It's amazing. Really good.
Oh, thank you.
I always love these the sort of TikTok sort of work in progress as well, and you can get to see the sort of starting point and the end piece. I think these are fantastic. These little short 60-second videos. I've noticed recently that a lot of people are struggling with TikTok because they've changed, haven't they, to a 3-minute format, which a lot of people are losing out on the 60 seconds. Yeah, yeah, it was nice. 60 seconds is great, isn't it? So, adventure.
Yeah, that one's more fun out.
There's nothing wrong with fan art if it keeps you, it's there's a lot of people out there that are doing it, isn't there? And sort of selling prints and things like that on Etsy and whatever else. It's really good, and it's hugely talented. We've got Adventurine Aura. I do apologise if I've said that wrong. It's on the chat. How do you decide on your colour palette for art pieces? Do you go in with an idea of the type you want, or do you just sort of wing it until it looks cool?
Oof. I suppose it's decided like on the piece. Like if you think about how you're gonna like draw something and how it's gonna lay out and all that kind of stuff, you're kind of thinking about the mood you want to push forward with it as well.
Yeah.
And like obviously you've got like very warm colors, like promote happiness and like joy essentially, and your colder colors like setting a mood or like sadness, anything from a whole range of emotions really.
Do you ever go
you can
down?
Kind of go off that.
Do you ever go down the color theory route in terms of like complementary colors and all that sort of stuff, or?
Yeah, in some places. As you can probably tell by my Instagram, I do a lot in black and white.
I mean, the stuff that you do in black and white.
I really like. Yeah, I just really like value studies. Basically, just trying to build something 3D from 2D.
And your results are absolutely phenomenal. Getting the skin tones in black and white it's amazing. Really good, really cool. I really like the way you do reflections and highlights and things like that as well. So, I mean, just in awe of what you're able to do with black and white images. Really cool.
Oh, thank you.
But yeah, in terms of the color palettes and stuff, I think they're really, really cool color palettes as well. Amazingly, the colors
still
really
got a bit of work to do on the colors. But it's all a learning curve.
Like that one. I mean, colors are really popping on that one. Really, really cool.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
So we've
got. The good thing about sorry.
Yeah, go on.
I'm just gonna say the good thing about like any sort of like cloud powder or like
Yeah.
explosion kind of thing, you can kind of just make up everything, and it'll like
Yeah.
as long as you get some shadows and like some
Hmm.
highlights in there,
Yeah.
it'll
Yeah.
look cool.
Wow. I mean, I really love the cyberpunk piece as well. I mean, cyberpunk's cool anyway, isn't it? It's kind of, but the
Oh
colors
yeah.
again. Yeah, I mean, you've got a real way with colors and shading. It's amazing, really cool. We've got a few people in the chat. Michael Edit, I absolutely love the shadow from the beard on that art piece. Amazing. Aventurine Aura, interesting answer, thanks. Living of Stories, you use a lot of different styles. Any you prefer, like cartoon, realistic, black and white, colour, or changing it up regularly?
I try and change it up. Basically, if I get too comfortable in one style, I'll try and switch, or find another artist I like and kind of emulate that style for a bit.
Yeah.
I do fall back on realistic black and white a lot.
It's a really cool way. It's a great way of working, just mixing it up. And I think that's a good piece of advice for any artist, especially any students watching. Is just constantly challenging yourself, because it seems to be looking at your Instagram, you constantly challenging yourself, which is a good way again to keep the creative juices going and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The Michael Edit, absolutely love the shout. Yeah, we've read that one. Sorry. Kiss My Joke put hello. Sorry, I'm late. Golden Guy Nines put wow, and Kiss My Joke put Steve, is that you? Haha. I'm assuming they mean this one with the bald, this, because it looks like the bald with the beard. It's kind of so anyone who's new to the chat, new to the stream, probably won't know what we look like because we haven't done cameras today. But yeah, so no. Cool, really good. I mean, the detail on some of these images are absolutely fantastic. Really cool.
Yeah, like in things like that, especially, I get very a lot of the time when I start a portrait, you focus in on the eyes because that's where you want the detail in it. But then you get trapped because you can't keep that level of detail up with the rest of the drawing.
Right. Okay.
It's kind of a hole, but no, as long as people just look at the eyes, it's fine.
Windows to the soul and all that.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that you sort of go from like photorealistic or this black and white shading to then all of a sudden it's like graphic novel cartoon style. It's just
Well, I try and keep it varied, as I said. I like to keep myself challenged.
It's clearly evident on your Instagram, because I was sort of, before we started talking, I was really sort of impressed with how many followers and stuff, and I was just saying how 8,000 followers on Instagram, it's and it was with us sort of toddling along with over 200 or something like that. Absolutely amazing achievements.
I did I spent like a whole year kind of essentially trying to generate followers, like trying to beat the algorithm. And I got I did okay with it. I think I got to like 10,000.
Wow. Okay.
And then I kind of I achieved that and stopped trying.
Right, okay.
and it's gone down since then.
I see these commissions pop up all the time. Quite a few of our students get these as well, in terms of their someone's pet.
Yes,
that one in particular, and then in military clothes. We've seen one recently with babies in astronauts outfits. I don't know what's
cool. That's a cool concept.
Yeah. So a few things in the chat. Mike Edit, I love the bags in the eyes. Adventuring Aura, the feather, that's insane. Level 1-2, but level 31 ? Are you stealing my gimmick, Daniel? Mike Edit, Dan, that eye painting one, was that part of a series? I think this one, are we talking about this one? Because I think that's part of this piece. Was that a series of photos?
No, that was
Just
just
a one-off?
yeah, just a rainy day.
Gizmacho, how easy do you find it to switch up your style?
Ooh. Depends a lot on the style I'm going towards. Like the one I'm trying to do at the moment, with like basically just kind of working out poses and how to get people to look like they're standing realistically. That's a very tough one for me. I haven't spent a lot of time doing it.
Well, do you do much life drawing, or is that something that's
I
quite difficult?
did back in like college and uni.
Yeah.
I think I did life drawing for probably 5 or 6 years.
Right. Okay. How did you find? Does that help? Did that help at all, or?
I think it did. I think it helps me. It helped me understand like obviously the angles and like values of the like the mass of the body. But I don't know. The way I'm doing it, I'm kind of trying to push it in a more, well, I guess the figures I'm drawing are more of an idealized sense.
All right. Okay. Yeah.
So less realistic, more like fairy tale, like more fantasy kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which the knowledge kind of does help there, but there's a long way to go.
Cool.
In any direction, really.
So so I think I got it wrong with the when we talked about the eye a minute ago. It's the eye painting one, which is this one. So my go edit to put Miko. I'm sorry if I've got your name wrong. Oh, not the cartoon looking one where she's painting the eye. Is that one? Is this one part of a series?
Oh no,
it's just a one-off. Or...
Yeah, that was a one-off. That one I got bogged down in. There's a have you use Reddit a lot? If you
yeah,
there's a subsection in Reddit called what was it? Oh fuck. I'm sorry.
That's right. Do you think it could be part of a series though? Would you consider taking it further and like making a graphic novel out of it, or is that not something?
Yeah. Like, well, I since I was a kid, I've always wanted to write a graphic novel.
Yeah.
Still waiting for the writer in me to pop up, I think.
Because we have a lot of comic artists, student comic artists that they go and sort of hound the creative writing courses to collaborate. So would that be something that you thinking about in the future, is collaborating with a writer to come up with?
Yeah, that might be the way I'd have to do it.
Yeah. Level 1, 2. Just realised you put your own tattoos on your characters. Very neat.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, on her arm I've got the Magikarp and the Ziggy Stardust.
Cool tattoos, Ziggy Stardust.
I just draw what you know.
Yeah. Cool. So we'll do some more, and then what we'll do is we will actually jump in to see what you're going to be doing for us, and then we can ask you more questions as we go along. I've got a page full of questions, and on this series we have coined the phrase "pester while you paint," even if it is digital painting. So we will continue to pester you. I mean, the light and shadows that you get in these black and white pictures are amazing. In absolute awe of what you're able to do with that. So cool. There we go. So we'll jump in. Let's have a look at what you're going to be doing for us today. So we've got our welcome piece, which we literally decided to do this sort of 2 seconds. Well, as soon as I pressed the start streaming, you got, I'll just do a quick welcome thing, and I was just like, okay, cool. It's great.
Yeah, well, it's part of the whole it's that Gartic phone nature in me. It's like I like the pressure of having to do something in 30 seconds.
So do you want to talk us a little bit through about what you're going to do this evening for us?
Yeah. So I was basically planning to carry on with this sweet tooth piece here, if Photoshop will allow. Yeah. Basically, like if anyone has any questions of like structure or like planning out the scene or anything like that, then I can switch between.
Okay, so
But
yeah, because it's always good to see how you got to that point in terms of.
Yeah.
I mean, there's questions that we'll ask later on in terms of where you get your influences from and that sort of stuff. But I mean, certainly at this point, where would you have started when you come to create this piece? What bit would you have started on first?
This one, I believe I wrote out. I did the whole the golden ratio thing, basically.
Yeah. Okay.
So if I imagine like, oh, that's a very bad example, but so if we're thinking like golden ratio, like you're starting off with him, like you've got the curve of the tree following up here with his antler, and then the curve of like whatever I'm going to put in the background there, leading to the guy at the back. Then we can follow his like strap and hand down. You've got the tree over here pushing you that way, and you're finishing on that face. And that's how I plotted out the.
So is the golden ratio something that you use all the time for every piece you do, or is it do you just do it now and again for?
Not every time, but for stuff like, well, with this, I basically wanted to create a poster, essentially,
Right. Okay.
something that looks like a poster. So for that, I'm gonna think of like structure and like the rule of thirds and golden ratio and that kind of thing, and I'll try and smush it all together.
It's a really good way. It's a great way of working. That's plan it all out first and get it in there. So it's really good. So we've got a couple of questions. Chili Owl, how do you capture the emotions in their faces?
Well, essentially, it'll all come down to like eyebrow position and eye width, essentially, because that's like the emotions will come from the eyes.
Yeah.
If I just focus in on this guy here.
So are you drawing this from reference, or is this completely out of your mind?
It is reference. Well, it's, the people are anyway.
Yeah.
So you've got like, I'm just referencing like the face and that kind of bit there. Of her, you've got those and that. So yeah, I'm not really doing too much like free emotion work here.
Okay.
It's all kind of just based on the photos. But say if we want to, like, obviously make someone look scared, you want to raise the inner eyebrows, make their eyes bigger. And that'll kind of make that whole face kind of look a bit more scared.
It's amazing how much.
Yeah, it all comes from experience of drawing faces, basically. Like if you practice drawing faces enough, you know the positions that the eyebrows and eyes should be in.
Yeah. Because it's amazing how much just by changing the eyebrows, how much emotion you can get into a face. So, Miko edit. Sorry if I've got your name wrong. Golden ratio, and then living of stories. That's really cool. It's people who are sort of new to our Twitch stream, and people who are regulars will know that I am absolutely terrible with names and terrible with usernames, especially. The sort of dyslexic part of my brain just goes berserk and comes out with all sorts of nonsense.
It can be the danger of streaming. You have to.
Yeah, this is it, because we're still quite new to this. I mean, you're we were talking before, weren't we? And it was kind of like I'm
Mm.
so used to sort of talking to people now or interviewing people who have never used Twitch before and telling them what Twitch is about and stuff. And then obviously having an expert on, it's kind of where it's a little bit.
I wouldn't say I'm an expert, but
Yeah.
yeah, I've been around a little bit.
So I mean, but if we've got your Instagram up there, so if anyone is interested in following Dan, then certainly head over to Instagram and give him a like, and also your Twitch stream, Art Womble. I will
Yep.
grab the link off your Twitch, off your Instagram, and I'll post it in the chat for anyone who would like to head over and give Dan a follow as well. There.
Motion detected at the back door.
That's always handy. Bear with me. There we go. That's in the chat now for you. So we've got Amigo. It's Miko. You kind of got it. It's pronounced Miko. Great, cool. Yeah, names are tough, and living of stories with the amount of detail you use. How do you know when it's enough? Is it difficult to decide when a piece is done?
Ooh, yeah, it's a funny one because I get very bogged down in detail. It happens a lot. But essentially you get it to a level where you think, do I want to do this level of detail over the entire drawing? It's like how much time you want to kind of put into it. And from there you'll kind of decide where you want to stop.
So, well, we've asked you a few questions now. There's quite a few questions going on. What's your background? Where did you study that sort of stuff? How did you get to this point right now?
Well, I started off obviously after high school art class and stuff. I went to college Landeslau.
Okay.
And beyond, I did my BTEC and national diploma in art and design. And then after that, I focused in on 3D art and computer animation.
Okay.
Thinking I can get obviously from that I was thinking video games, animated movies, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Which is still a bit of a goal of mine eventually. So I went to Glamorgan University in Cardiff. Did my degree down there.
What was your degree in?
It was in 3D art.
Oh, okay.
So 3D modeling and that kind of thing. Which I haven't done in a long time, I'll admit.
What software were you using for that?
At the time we used 3ds Max for the first couple of years. And then as we were in university, the industry made a shift to Maya. And so they tried to teach us that in the last year. That was interesting.
That's interesting because we teaching sort of 3D modeling and stuff. I've been doing it now for the last sort of 10 years or so, and it seems like there seems to be regions with the software you use. Certainly, sort of Leamington Spa where it's all 3ds Max, but kind of northwest up here all seems to be Maya. So
it's interesting.
Yeah. But there's a huge shift at the moment towards Blender because Unreal Engine's heavily invested in it.
Okay.
That'll be interesting to see where that goes in a few years' time.
I've heard Blender's quite good, for getting into. There's a lot of people I know who get into just like hobbyist 3D modeling, I tend to use that. Though is it free still?
Yeah, it's free. I think what their aim is, because Unreal Engine stuck $1 billion into it. I think it's going to probably end up being integrated into the software, but at some point, because they've started doing that with. They did it with Quixel and Megascans, and now they've just announced that reality capture has become free. So anyone who's interested in photogrammetry, if you're a student or an educator, then you can get that free as well. Or if it's you're using it for practice, so as long as you're learning and you're not using it for commercial, you can get it free. So that's quite interesting.
Nice.
Yeah, there's so many free programs out there now. It's like, unlike Photoshop, that's an extortionate amount of money every month when you're no longer a student. We've got Fergie Ferrum. Any favourite projects, either because you're particularly like the subject / what it was used for, or are you just really happy with how it came out? 20 favourite projects.
I have like favorite drawings and stuff, but I don't know about like project. Well, I suppose the poster I did that I had the TikTok drawing of. I don't think I actually put the full poster up on Instagram, to be honest. I should fix that.
Yeah, I think it was. Let's see if I'll bring it back up and. Let me see if I can. Yeah, I'll just stick it in the corner there, and there we go. I think I've seen something with it. That's the one? Is that the one you were talking about?
Yes. Yeah. That one.
Yeah, I think it's like snippets of it. But I'm not sure if you've done a full piece. There you go.
Yeah,
that's with everybody on it.
Just because I invested so much time into it, essentially, is I think overall probably close to 30-35 hours.
No. So do you sell that as a print, or is that?
No, that's just for fun.
Just for fun. So what kind of stuff? I mean, as a freelance artist, is it mainly commissions that you take on, or will you sell prints, or?
Yeah, it's mainly just private commissions. Like drawing, like I've done a lot of like pets, portraits.
Yeah. Okay.
You get the like the book covers and that kind of thing as well.
Yeah. Do you find that you share those, or you don't? You're reluctant to share those, or?
The more professional ones, I tend not to. I let them kind of stay private.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Especially if it's client led, it's their sort of idea, their vision, isn't it? So it's something I have to sort of discuss with students in terms of, if you do a client project and you've done it, and then they turn around and go, yeah, I want it blue, and you don't think blue's right, and then how do you put that on your website as a portfolio, in your portfolio or whatever else? It's difficult, isn't it?
Aye. So this was my latest book cover.
Wow. Okay.
Which an interesting one. This guy hires me a lot, which is nice of him. I think it's like his 6th or 7th book.
Wow,
it's just crazy.
Yeah. Cool. What's it about? What's the message? It's about murders.
Yeah, it's. I believe it was about a Native American who was falsely accused of murder.
Okay. Do you read the books to take inspiration, or do you just sort of skim read it and?
No, he's given me synopses.
Okay. It's tricky, innit? I suppose if you're getting book commissions all the time, and the next thing you've got like 92 novels to read or something like that.
Yeah.
I'll factor that into your hourly rate as well. Figgy for I don't know if I'm just gonna call you Fig. I do apologise. Drawings count as projects. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, there is one I drew like years ago. That I've always wanted to like put into like a comic series or something.
Yeah.
I believe it's on Instagram. It's probably one of the first ones I posted.
Right down at the
It's,
very beginning.
Yeah, it's a drawing of a robot being built by two lab mice. I just always liked that concept. It was essentially going like in my head. It was essentially going to be like. Do you ever watch the film Ex Machina?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was going to be like that, but with mice.
Wow. It's a cool,
Essentially.
yeah, it's a cool concept.
Yeah, I liked
I've
it.
put
And
the Instagram
just-
there.
Yeah, that was just like it's just altogether one of my favorite pieces that's come together.
Oh, yeah. It's really the foreground piece is really cool, and then it really sort of sits well with this background. And the light again, the light, how you do the light is just that's really cool, it's really special. It's really good. And then following that, Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
There we go.
That was when I was working as a tattoo artist apprentice.
Well, okay. I did spot that. I wasn't sure if you wanted to talk about being a tattoo apprentice. How did you find that?
Well, I spent my day drawing, which is
Yeah, it's always good, isn't it?
essentially what I want to do. What I want to do in life.
Yeah.
The unfortunate thing was I couldn't. I ended up not being able to get my license.
Okay.
Because my body's weird and I can't get immunized to Hep B. That was a fun circumstance.
It's really unfortunate, isn't it? It's always tricky when sort of the mind's willing but the body isn't it? It's kind of so yeah. But digital art, I mean, what you're doing now is fun. You know, it's still doing it, which is amazing. But I was speaking to someone today. I just noticed like some of the dragons. It's like we were talking about logos and stuff, and someone said to me, "What is it with you Welsh people and drawing dragons or putting dragons on everything?" We just got a thing for dragons. But, yeah.
It comes from primary school when they made us draw the flag all that night, like
yeah.
all those times.
Or colour it in constantly.
Yeah. It's ingrained into us from a very young age.
Absolutely. And Living of Stories, but sorry to hear you couldn't follow your tattoo artist dreams. Such a shame.
Yeah, I mean, like I don't know how. Like, I don't know if I regret anything about it, but
it's all experience, though, isn't it? It's all.
Yeah, that's it. And again, it's another avenue where your proposed ideas and you have to draw them. So it's like, it's all practice.
Mm-hmm. We've got Zep the Hulu. You obviously have a lot of creativity and talent. Do you limit yourself to just digital drawings, or do you have experience in other mediums?
Yeah, obviously started with a traditional drawing background.
Mm-hmm.
It's very important to have that kind of knowledge of like tones and mediums is invaluable. I've tried pretty much any medium you can think of. I've tried it. Like from pastels, charcoals, pencil.
Yeah.
Like 3D sculpting is another thing I've started doing recently. Which, well, I shouldn't say started. We did a little bit of it in university.
Right.
We did maquette making.
Okay.
Like to build a character.
Yeah.
And then make it in 3D.
Okay. So what do you use for that? Are you ZBrush, Mudbox?
Yeah, a bit of both.
Okay.
I think in my personal time I used ZBrush.
Mm-hmm.
A bit in the university I used Mudbox.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have that.
It's usually the go-to thing because ZBrush is so expensive.
Yeah.
And Mudbox you can get free as a student. So it's but yeah, it's I mean ZBrush is a phenomenal piece of kit if you can get into that. It's really cool. And there's so many more tools and stuff that you can do with it than.
Yeah, it's a lot to get your head around.
Oh yeah, it's one of them programs that you've
It's
really
not
got to
user-friendly at all.
So, Living in Stories, any tips, comments on how you adjust your style depending on the medium? I assume your approach is different depending on what you're using.
Yeah, it's like most physical mediums, your mind is additive.
Yeah.
It's like you're starting with a blank white page and adding dark. Which is why I kind of prefer digital in a lot of ways. Is because you can go both ways as much as you like. Like you're not limited to just adding. You can.
Yeah.
Although I suppose in any medium you can do that. You just need the right tools.
Yeah, absolutely. So how do you work at the moment in terms of, we know you're a digital artist, but what? I'm going to say that I always ask the silly questions. Are you using a keyboard and mouse?
No, I've got a tablet monitor.
Okay.
It's Huion because we can't afford a Wacom.
I mean, the stuff that Huion's producing at the moment, I'm starting to think that they're going to be rivaling Wacom anytime soon, sometime soon. I mean, there's such.
Yeah, I mean, I've had this for probably a few years now.
Yeah.
And I've yet to run into any issues at all.
And that's it, isn't it? That's what you need, isn't it? Something that's reliable. Yeah. Because that's something that I always say to students in terms of, you can go out and, anyone can go out and buy a £2,000 Wacom. And great. But not everybody can do that. So go with what tools you can.
Yeah.
And you'll 9 times out of 10. No, absolutely not. No, there's no magic button on it. Believe me, I've looked for it. It's kind of, but yeah, it's certainly a great alternative to Wacom, and I think, like I say, Huion have made huge strides in the last few years. And if you're hanging around Black Friday and stuff like that, they do some cracking deals as well on those sort of pieces of kit. So do you? I mean, I know a lot of students who use Huion tablets, but they also use Clip Studio. Have you ever used that, or is that you just solely Photoshop?
I haven't used it. No, I've been curious because I do have a lot of friends who use Clip Studio, and it seems like it's more aimed at digital painting than Photoshop, which is kind of more of an everything.
Yeah.
I just haven't gotten around to trying it. But...
Yeah, it's something I've looked at.
Sorry.
No, go on.
I was so because I've been using Photoshop for 16, 17 years.
Okay.
So I'm very happily set in my ways.
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it, to change up, especially a piece of software that because we were talking last week to comic artists, and they were like, if Clip Studio had a decent lasso tool, then I'd leave Photoshop alone. But everyone comes back to Photoshop, don't they? It's even 3D artists, when they've done renders, keep coming back to Photoshop to tweak their renders. It's kind of so Living a Story is interesting. Thanks for the explanation. And then we've got Zabeth Hulu. I have a friend that is stuck in the doodling/sketch phase of character design and drawing. What's a good piece of advice to get him to produce the final product that you wish you'd had when you were an amateur artist?
Oh God. I think a lot of it is just working through. It's like, because once you've got a sketch, and you're worried that if you work into it more, then you might ruin it, might make it look less good or whatever.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the time, if you just keep going, no matter how long it takes, you can keep working on a piece for 50, 60 hours until it looks good. But you'll get there eventually. it's just about kind of sticking to it.
Practice as well, maybe.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
the beauty of digital
practice.
art is layers, because you can switch off a layer and then try it again, and then choose between which layer is best, I suppose.
Oh yeah. So like by the end of the drawing, I'll end up with like probably 10, like dozens of layers.
Do you ever
all
go
with
back
different
and
parts
label
on.
those layers?
Oh no. Like I remember in like when I was learning, people would be like, "Oh yeah, you have to label your light, your dark."
Yeah.
But I don't generally work that way. I'll do light and dark on the same layer,
All right. Okay.
which is counterintuitive for a lot of things. I do kind of think like, "Oh, I wish I'd done that," but I don't know. I never seem to learn.
It's sort of, with drumming it into students that they've got to label layers, because obviously the stuff that I do, students often with animation and games and things like that, they often have to do art tests to get jobs. So I'm like, label your layers. The first thing, one of the things they're going to be looking for is you labeling that layer. Make sure they're all labeled. And we had a master's student on who was just finished doing a 3D model of a church, and it was actually an Unreal Engine, and you could walk around it, all that sort of stuff. It was a couple of weeks ago, so if anyone wants to look at it, it's on YouTube. But and he was going through it, and I was like looking at his layers, thinking, "You haven't labelled your layers." So yeah, before you send that to anybody, or before you do an art test, make sure you label those layers. Yeah. Zabthulu, thanks. For that. I'm assuming that was for the answer. Miko, yeah, I see some traditional artists use tracing paper to do the same thing as layers. Yeah, I think layout paper, isn't it? That a lot of people use as well. Like animators use layout paper, traditional animators anyway.
Oh yeah.
So
it's like it's cell animation, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As well. Like they'll put different body parts on different layers and just move them around.
Yeah, if you look at some of the 2D animations, and I always say to students, watch your 2D animation, even if it's just a couple of seconds, and see how much stuff actually moves in that scene. Like the background is completely static, bushes and everything else completely static, and all that's moving is an arm or something, and and that's the only bit that you're animating. And people think every single thing's got to be drawn over and over again. So yeah, I suppose you could call it analog layers. So, what type of art do you most identify with? Oof, just a deep question.
I'd say I try not to.
Yeah.
Like I guess I do. Like I do love realism. I kind of fall back to that a lot.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I try not to get too focused on one thing.
I think that's a great answer. I think that's absolutely, it almost becomes like actors being typecast, doesn't it? If you're stuck on that one.
Yeah.
Even going back
It's
to
like,
the sort of tattooing days, it's kind of you've got to be versatile, haven't you? I suppose.
So I remember when I was learning, one of my tutors told me never draw anime.
Yeah, that's a good piece of advice as well.
Because anime is one of those things that you kind of if that's how you learn to draw, then you won't be able to draw anything else, or it'll take a lot of work to get out of that hole. Although now I get to a point where I want to draw some anime and I can't because I never touched it.
Yeah, I tell my students the same thing. It's always like life drawing first, observational drawing, learn the rules before you can break the rules with anime and stuff. So manga, obviously manga and anime are phenomenal artists and they're all right, but they've all started off learning the basics and doing life drawing and stuff first. And we get so many that come through the door for courses and that just have drawn Simpsons or learn to draw from drawing Disney characters, and it's like great, you can copy somebody else's artwork, which I suppose for an animator, I mean, you might want to animate Mickey Mouse and just draw him over and over again, but you then become sort of stuck in that one trick thing, isn't it? So
Yeah.
yeah. So I think that's a great bit of advice from your old tutor. But cursing him now that you can't draw manga or anime. Brilliant.
Yeah, like, I'm slowly learning. Like you, as you say, you learn the basics before you learn the rules before you want to break them. That's a good way of looking at it.
What's your favourite artwork? What's your favourite type of art?
I suppose again it would go back to realism. It's always been that kind of thing with like when I go around to like museums and stuff when I was younger. I'd always find myself gravitating towards like the old, like the massive Victorian portraits and that kind of thing.
Like the Renaissance artists and stuff. I'm the same. I find myself sort of moving away from the sort of surrealism and more into realism.
Yeah, it's like I get annoyed at like modern art.
I suppose it could be that it's the type of sort of areas that you've sort of started in, you know, going into 3D art and looking into games and looking into fan art and movies and things like that. I suppose it's, yeah, we tend to, people in that world sort of suppose tend to gravitate towards more realism.
Yeah, so I suppose that is kind of like for a lot of studios and like artists in those industries, realism is the goal.
Absolutely. It's games industry, it's absolutely
through the uncanny valley.
Beating into you to get realism. So yeah. So why do you do this? Why do you? This is a tricky question. Why do you do what you do? As one of my weird questions. And what makes you keep coming back to doing this?
I suppose it's my quiet place. It's my it's my zen. It's like being able to just sit down and like just throw yourself into an art piece for like 8 hours.
Yeah.
Just kind of it's meditation essentially.
Oh, yeah. That's. I mean, there's something we're hearing sort of every week from various different people, even sort of people who worked for the NHS, and art therapy. You know, art as a therapy. Just having a go and sort of sitting down, quiet, relaxing, putting some music on.
Yeah,
that's a
it's,
really.
It's very like therapeutic.
It's a great answer. I love it. It's.
It's spending this entire time drawing a jacket. I should probably move on to something.
Well, that's a weird question anyway to ask. Why do you do this? Why don't you just sit off and watch the TV? You know, it's always a weird question.
That's a beautiful thing about drawing is you can do it while watching TV.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah.
Like I'll often have like YouTube or a Twitch stream on while I'm drawing.
So, what made you sort of get into all this as well? What drove you to sort of go to art school and?
Well, funnily enough, how we were talking about not starting with anime. It's it started with Pokemon for me.
Okay.
Like I used to have this little, like a tiny little notepad that was probably about 2 to 3 inches tall. I used to carry around with me everywhere, and I draw little like Pokemon cards when they first started coming out back in the 90s.
Yeah.
And like from there, I just kind of never stopped. Digitally, it didn't start until college.
Okay.
When I got very annoyed at a tutor for trying to make us do mixed media. Because as you'll know, mixed media is very valued in in education. Like when you're doing the fundamentals, like it. Our tutor was like, if you did like a simple drawing, it was never good enough. It had to be like on masking tape or like throwing some paint on it or that kind of thing.
You've got to make marks.
And so essentially, I wanted to pick something like, as a final project, I wanted to pick something that he couldn't criticize for not being like textured, essentially. So I went up to the computer lab in college for like every sort of break, lunchtime and that kind of thing, and borrowed the one of the drawing tablets that the technician would let me use, and basically just taught myself how to draw digitally, how to use Photoshop, and it kind of kept going from there.
Wow, that's an amazing story. That's a traditional art lesson has forced you down the digital route, or pushed you down the digital route. That's amazing. I do. I still struggle with that in terms of, let's go make some marks. It's like, I've made me marks. Maybe you know what I mean.
It's like you'd be sat there and you got like in your class, like presenting this drawing.
Yeah.
And I had a good, like, I remember vividly. I had one tutor who came by, like, saw my a painting I did on canvas.
Yeah.
And slashed it with a knife.
Wow. Okay.
Because he wanted some. He said he wanted some different textures. Okay. So he said, "Okay, put masking tape on it and do it again." I was like, "Hang on."
It's like a whole new meaning to the red pen on your work kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's a bit outlawed.
So that, I had some conflict with that tutor. Let's just say.
I could imagine. Yeah, Miko's put what the hell in the chat. That's an interesting way of educating and motivating a student. Well, I can assure you, I don't do that in my lessons. So yeah.
No, I suppose his viewpoint was art comes from emotion.
Yeah.
So he was trying to like enact something in me.
Yeah,
which he did.
Yeah, rage.
He prompted me to leave traditional art and go for digital.
Certainly could say he's achieved something there.
Yeah.
And we thank you for it.
Ways I'll be thankful for it.
Yeah, absolutely. So what age did you start drawing them? When you started drawing them Pokemon cards, how old were you then? Was that like a
that must have been 96, 97, so I must have been about 6 or 7.
Okay. A good year.
Or it was probably before that when I actually first started drawing, but yeah.
Yeah, it's a difficult question, isn't it? Well, I usually started drawing. Well, as soon as someone stuck.
Like my usual answer is just from when I could hold a pencil.
Yeah, because usually that. I mean, yeah. As soon as a parent sticks a pencil in your hand or a guardian or whatever. So, Living of Stories, he was just jealous. There you go. Jealous of your art.
It's a nice way to look at it, yeah.
Just positive out of it. So, how often do you draw? Is this something that you do every day, or?
Most days, yeah. Like sometimes I'll take. Well, it won't always be something this like time-consuming or detailed.
Okay.
But especially lately, obviously with Gartic Phone and that kind of thing, that's essentially what I'll do anytime I have some itch or like air of boredom.
Yeah, it's always so. If I was to say to you, sort of hours per day, is there days where you could just draw completely, non-stop all day, or is it? Would you never get that time? Or...
I don't think I've done it recently, but I have in the past spent 18 hours non-stop with a drawing.
Wow. Okay.
I get very hyper focused, and basically like I can't leave until it's done.
So, and then the next question I've got for you: what advice do you have for anyone who wanted to start off doing this kind of artwork, this digital artwork, or art in general?
Um, I think the only advice I could give would be to just start. Because it all comes down to practice essentially.
Yeah, yeah.
You're gonna have to like there's no thinking like, oh, I need to wait until I can get the right materials or the right programs and that kind of thing. It just kind of, even if you just have a mouse and MS Paint, which is like probably where I started when I was
Yeah.
like 12, 13 with my first computer, and just kind of like, well, because no matter what you're doing, you're going to be learning something that you can use later on.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of free pieces of software out there now, isn't there? That's I know people on TikTok advertise regularly sort of alternative websites for softwares and stuff.
Yeah, like what was it one I saw the other day that's basically a copy of Photoshop but in browser.
Yeah, well, GIMP I think's been like that for a
Is
while.
it?
I'm not sure if you can download that, but there is another one as well. I think that's just popped up too. I
Mm.
think it's kind of like sort of where Blender came from. I think it was it's open source. There's just a load of people who are annoyed at paying a silly amount of money for software that they just want to use as a hobby or a practice or whatever.
Mm.
So, Living of Stories in the chat, but is there any material you refuse to work with? Is it glitter in brackets?
um, I haven't refused to use glitter, but I would be very hesitant.
Miko's put, if I was an artist, I would refuse to work with glitter 100%. Seems to be a bit of an embargo going with glitter.
I know there's been a lot of like environmental costs lately.
Yeah.
Thinking about it,
It's not
it's
good.
I mean there's well, I suppose that's one good thing about being like working digitally. You don't have to worry about materials.
Yeah, true. You're not going to run out of paper or...
No.
Because, well, you might run out of the old pen nibs, but I suppose.
That's the point. I haven't changed my pen nib in probably a year.
Wow, okay. Tiny little bit left on it.
Yeah, I'm feeling it now. It's quite a bit. It's a bit sharp, so I probably should.
You forget and then scratch your head with it, and you got a massive line down your forehead.
No.
Yeah, it's always the way. So you're currently working on this project. Have you got anything that's coming up next? Is there anything that you want to work on next, or did you just focus on this one piece and then consider what it is after you finish this piece?
Yeah, essentially, I'll just have a think of like, I just started watching a new show the other day, so I might do something towards that.
Yeah.
Or maybe like if a commission comes up, that'll be my main focus.
And then you've recently joined Killer Whales as well, haven't you? Which is the which we've posted a few times in that. If anyone's a creative in North Wales or just Wales, that is a creative community that we've started posting in their channel. I'm working with, so if anyone is watching from Creative Killer Whales, then welcome to the stream. And if you're interested in being a guest, then certainly get in touch and we can make that happen. I mean, Dan, would you recommend being a guest? How has it been so far?
Yeah, it's been fun. I've been enjoying it.
That's always that's a sort of bad question on my part, because coming out going, no, I hate it. I want to leave. No, that's great.
Cheers.
So, I mean, that's a community of creatives that started off on Facebook quite recently, and they've managed to get, there's like 600 people already joined that group. And then I was talking to the person who started it the other day, and they were saying there's 10,000 creatives in North Wales. And they're looking to attract to get as part of that group. So, with so many people working and things like that, how do you seek out new opportunities? Do people come to you, or do you actively go looking for commissions? Or
Yeah, it's mostly like I'll do a little bit of advertising online every now and again,
right.
but most of it is like, for me anyway, it's been word of mouth.
Okay.
Like, people will see it and like on on someone's wall or something, and contact me through that way.
And repeat customers from the authors as well. No doubt.
Yes.
It's always good.
Yeah, that's always nice.
So, what do you feel is integral to the work of an artist? That's another deep question.
Ooh. I suppose a couple of words that come to mind would be
Just
I don't sound egotistical here, but I think it'd come down to like focus and understanding.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I think looking at what you do here and the amount of time and effort and skill that you put into each piece, I think that's absolutely integral, isn't it? It's just having that focus and the drive and determination to do it as well. It's kind of
well, as I said, it's like this is my happy place. Just doing this,
and
so it's not very taxing, but it can be if you spend like any more than like 4 or 5 hours at a time, and I'm washed out for the rest of the day.
Yeah. Just concentrating and
you just have to put like a TV show on and not focus on it.
And as a freelance artist, is that a position you'd recommend people to do, or is that time consuming and difficult, just trying to keep on top of that as well?
I'd say it comes with its like benefits and drawbacks. And due to obviously depending on the amount of business you get is the reliability of the funds coming in.
Yeah.
As well, which can differ from month to month. If you don't have those repeat contracts.
Yeah, it's tricky.
But yeah, if you want to kind of be in control of what you do and when you do it, it's probably the way to go.
Because I suppose you have to focus so much of your time on finding work, essentially, and also your social media. I mean, you've obviously put a lot of effort and time into your social media, getting 8,000 followers. So just getting that sort of time balance right, I suppose.
Yeah, it's it can be a lot. Like, sorry.
Yeah. So the Miko
drawing.
Miko in the chat. But do you find any specific platform as being better for getting commissions?
Ooh, yeah. I'd probably say, like, I think I've got the most business probably from Twitter.
Wow. Okay.
Whereas like I have a lot less followers there, but you can it seems more of like a beggar way to do it, but it's the way you go. If you can go on Twitter and search like in the search field, just like search like commissions or looking for an artist, and then just contact people who are actively looking. That's one way you can kind of just like attack it. Whereas Instagram, people are a lot less responsive. Like Instagram, you're not looking for responses other than like people liking your stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a lot of scrolling goes on Instagram, I suppose.
Mm.
That's interesting. You would have thought it'd be another way around because obviously Instagram's more visual.
Yeah, I think it comes down to a lot. Like most people post to Instagram rather than browse it.
Yeah.
Whereas people actually will actually read stuff on Twitter.
That's a good point. And it's like, yeah, because and I think a lot of it with Instagram as well. The algorithms are a nightmare.
Mm.
Don't know whether that's because because Facebook have got hold of it or what, but it's strange. Someone was telling me, Winston actually, who was on our Twitch stream a few months ago, was saying that he'd gone on to a social media course, and he was saying you should always utilize the new product that a social media platform has brought out. So at the moment it's Reels on Instagram, so they're pushing Reels, and it's on TikTok.
Right.
It's 3-minute videos, so they're pushing the 3-minute videos. So the 1-minute videos are getting hidden away. It's that kind of weirdness that you've got to keep up with as well, I suppose.
I don't understand how like TikTok and why they're doing that, because like I think that the attractiveness of that for me was the ability to watch like a short video and not have time to get bored.
Yeah, short, sharp, and to the point, isn't it?
Yeah.
Some real cool time lapses.
Now they seem to be trying to venture out into the full media platform sort of thing.
So we've got Julia O. How do you tell where and how to put shadows and highlights?
That one comes down to, well, what we call planes, essentially. So I'll make another little head here and we can do a little demonstration. So the way I will build the head is essentially something called I imagine you've heard of the Loomis method.
What we'll do is we'll just assume that people who are watching might not have heard that. So what is that method?
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. Well, the Loomis method is essentially the breakdown of a head from a circle. Like if anyone's watched like a tutorial on drawing faces, you'll see this. So essentially, you start off with a circle and like cut off the side with a cylinder. A flat circle, essentially. Let's get rid of these scratches. You tie a rubber band around that, and do a line down there. So from this point here and this point here, so if we bring that line down, this will all there. So follow that forward and around. It's essentially the method of building a face is you've got the cranial sphere, the line of the eyes, and or the eyebrows in this case. Sorry, I'm terrible at explaining these things.
Oh, you're doing great.
So the front of the face is built up into essentially thirds. So you've got from the top of the forehead to the eyebrow line, eyebrows to the nose, nose to the chin. And you can kind of, like, obviously it'll differ on the face, but from there you build out the jaw going up to that other point there. Let's make that. Yeah. And say if we, let's continue that line there because that doesn't go straight. Say if we had a light source up here facing the head there. You kind of just have to think like where in the face would be hit by that. And then you can break the face up into certain planes. Let's see. Okay, we'll go with another method here as well, because the eyes always kind of fit into this goggly shape. So if you take these 2 points here, put those there, you've got the upper eye and the lower eye. The eyes will fall on that line somewhere in there. And this bit is facing up, that bit is facing down. So if you've got light coming from above, this bit is shadow and that bit is light. Essentially how you're going to work it out for the rest of everything. So we take from that, just going to look at a quick face here. So if we get rid of all this construction.
It's really cool watching you do this. It's kind of like I often just stop and watch people and I forget that we're sort of we've got people watching and we should be chatting and stuff, but this is really cool. You know,
it's like I a lot of the time I won't draw all this. I'll kind of just do it in my head as I'm going.
Mm-hmm. So while you're drawing that, what sort of brushes are you using? Sorry, what do you use the same brush all the time, or do you use multiple brushes?
I will mostly just use a hard round brush. Mm-hmm. Or a soft round brush, so it'll be between these two here. They're coming up on stream. That'll be pretty much for everything. But you can obviously I've got quite a few brushes here.
Yeah, you've obviously gone down the rabbit hole of brushes as well.
Yeah, so it's essentially just for little bits that would take time to do by hand. You've got stuff like skin pore brushes, that kind of thing.
And does that,
which you could do by hand, but that would take forever.
And do you use any of those brushes when it comes to highlights and shadows?
Yeah, if I'm going into that level of detail, I will usually use it as a base and then draw on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got this kind of skin brush here. Which you can kind of just put some light over, and it gives a rough skin texture. But if I was gonna go in and put highlights in this, I would kind of just to add some more to it. You'll see I'll change the size and hardness of my brush a lot as well.
Yeah.
Just kind of because brushes are great, but they're intrinsically uniform. And when it comes to faces or any sort of hair detail, anything like that, that's the opposite of what you want, really.
Mm-hmm. So is there any particular brushes that you use for that the highlights and shadows? Any like go-to?
Nothing in particular. I kind of just. Not really. I don't really have them memorized. If if I want to do something in particular, I'll just kind of scroll through.
Okay.
And pick out something. Like you've got stuff like air particle brushes, and which is quite nice. Oh, that's on the eraser, as it always is. What was it there? So it just kind of like adds some like little particles in the air, which is quite nice when finalizing a piece. Like, especially if you're doing like so. When I'm finishing this off, I will most likely do like some light coming in from the top corner, just to kind of give it a bit more like depth and atmosphere. And with that, if I combine those light rays with some air particles, because the air is never clear.
No.
So that'll just give it just an extra little bit of realism, essentially.
That's great. I mean, Julia, I hope that's answered your question. I'm pretty sure it has. Miko's put, I never thought about the companies wanting to push their new features that way. Makes so much sense. I'm assuming that's about the social media that we talked about before. Yeah, that's something that social media companies do. It's a product. They see it as a product and they push it. And Miko, I love seeing how it's all done and the process. And I think that's the beauty of sort of Twitch art is seeing that process, isn't it? And that's one of the reasons why we started doing this stream, to try and lift the veil on what artists are doing, what students are doing, and it's just you can pick up so many tips and tricks that you'd never even thought of. Particles in the air, that sort of stuff, and the way that you do highlights might be different to the way that somebody else does highlights and shadows.
Yeah.
Julius, but that was great to look at. You made it look so easy, although I know it's not. Thank you. There you go. Yeah, that's the other thing, isn't it? As artists on Twitch and the guests that we have all make it look so easy. But it's practice, I suppose, isn't it? It's like I asked the question of how often do you draw, just because that we get people all the time going, I can't draw. And it's like, well, how often do you draw? Never, because I can't. And it's like, well, if you don't draw, you're never gonna get any better. Yeah. It's
exactly it.
It's like learning to drive a car, isn't it? If you don't practice, you're never gonna learn. So.
As I always tell people, like, drawing is it's just movements of the hand. Like if you can write, you can draw.
Yeah.
It's just going to take time, just like you learn how to write.
Yeah, it's just it's one of them things. When you go to school and stuff, they prioritize writing over like drawing and mark making and stuff. So it's, unless you're drawn to it, people often tend to sort of move away from it, and then it's the kind of thing. Julius put, what if your handwriting is really ugly? That's, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm probably a lot older than most of the viewers on this, but when I was in school, we had a headmaster that was like, if your handwriting is bad, then you must practice. You will never get a job, and that's what he used to make us do: is practice the handwriting until it was good. So again, it's one of them things of practicing the strokes, isn't it? I suppose.
Yeah, it's all hand-eye coordination.
Yeah.
No matter where you look at it.
So we've got some more questions. Living the stories. What artists have inspired you lately, and what do you like about them? That's one of my questions on my list. But yeah, we'll jump to that one. So yeah, what
The beat you to it.
Yeah. What
Well, the guy I was talking about with who's kind of made me want to go into like learning how to like pose properly.
Yeah.
It's a guy called I can't remember his last name, but his handle on everything is Ross Draws. And his style is like it's pure aesthetic. It's just like really nice to look at. Like everything looks so like clean and like pretty.
Is that on Instagram? Is he on Instagram?
I'd imagine so, yeah. But like he's come up with like he's a world builder.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like come up with this entire world of characters and concepts, and he's drawn them all out and put them in a book. And it's just a lovely idea to me to be able to build that kind of thing.
So if anyone is interested in that, how would you spell that? Did you say Ross Draws?
Ross Draws says ROSSDDRAWS. Yeah.
What I'll do is
Like
I'll stick that in the chat, so that if anyone's interested, we can go over and give him a follow.
It's like his YouTube videos are great as well because he does a lot of tutorials and masterclasses and that kind of thing.
There you go. So I've stuck that in the chat. So if anyone's interested in giving Ross a follow as well, you can just head over there and do so. There's a lot of love in the chat for Julie. I think you've struck a chord there with people who said about handwriting. Miko, that's mine for sure. And then Miko's put, yeah, his stuff's so cool. There you go. So yeah, it's really good stuff. So, what's your most favourite aspect of digital drawing?
Probably the undo button.
Yeah, I always the control Z or control Z is your best mate.
It's just something that's entirely like alone in digital art.
Mm-hmm.
And it's probably the most used function.
Yeah. So, what's your least favorite then? I like to ask that question because that sort of invokes really.
Yeah, it's for me. It's probably like file size.
Yeah.
Or the limitations of the digital platform, essentially, because you're limited by the power of your computer.
Yeah.
And like I've got like a decent computer. I built it 2014. So it's like 7 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still going strong, but obviously the world is moving on, and every year file sizes double and
starts labor intensive on your computer, isn't it? What do you use?
So I'd love to get more detailed into pretty much everything, but it's like, as you can see, you start to see pixels once you go to get a bit further in.
So what are you using? Are you using a Mac or a PC?
I'm using PC. I tried Macs for a while in college and stuff, but I didn't get on with them.
This is the great debate, Mac versus PC. That always rears its head wherever you are in the creative industries, I suppose. I use both. I think it's one of them things. It's whatever you're used to. If you've grown up using Macs, then you're gonna favour Macs, aren't you? It's kind of
it's like I think when I went to college, people were telling me that Macs were built for design work,
Mhm.
and they were catered more towards the designers. And I think I just I find that distasteful and quite arrogant,
Yeah.
and that turned me off them a little bit.
Yeah, it's kind of a fashionable thing as well, isn't it? I mean, I obviously, I don't know if it's not obvious, but I mean, at the moment I'm streaming from a PC. I bought mine probably similar time to you bought yours, and I think the beauty of it is that it's probably not the same machine that I bought. I've ripped bits off and stuck bits on.
Yeah.
You know, and upgraded this, that, and the other. So it's, and I have to do that with a Mac. I'd have had to buy probably 2 Macs compared to what I bought for this. So it is, yeah, it's
Just the ability to be able to open it up and change whatever you want is quite nice.
that's the sort of beauty of it, I think.
And plus, I play a lot. Well, not a lot, but I play video games quite a bit.
Yeah.
So Macs, like, they're catching up, but not quite on par with
So do you
PC in terms of.
do you play
availability
PC
of
games? Are you PC or
Yeah.
console gamer?
PC. I use the same thing for everything.
Fair enough. What are you playing right now?
I don't really have like a game I go to right now. Like, obviously the Gartic phone thing, but I did just play through It Takes Two.
Okay.
It's a nice little co-op game where you play like a husband and wife who've been turned into dolls, and you have to make your way through the garden back to the house and fix your relationship, that kind of thing. It was a fun little adventure.
I've not seen it. It sounds good. Sounds cool. I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah, it's by the same people who made what's it called, A Way Out, something like that. I'm not too sure. It's but yeah, it's like a split screen co-op game, which is always fun.
Cool. Do you stream your games, or is it just purely artwork that you stream?
No, I don't think my PC is capable of streaming games anymore.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I started looking into because obviously summertime things ease off a little bit in the teaching world, so we can have a little bit of extra time, sort of. So I do like to pick up the games that I've missed out on through term times and stuff. And I literally picked up. I was really wanted to get into Dead by Daylight and get into the online thing, and then literally as soon as I started playing it, everyone was like, "We're leaving this game. It's too toxic." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." Is it something I said? Yeah. So. It's tricky, isn't it? It's kind of so in terms of like artwork and gaming and stuff. Is that a difficult choice? Do you gravitate towards art or games, or is it just an even split?
I definitely spend more time drawing than I do playing games these days.
Yeah.
Although that hasn't always been the case. It's I think this year for me, I've had a new kind of era of drawing most days. It's like, it's funny because like last year I had all the time in the world thanks to
lockdown,
the climate of but I just wasn't in the frame of mind to draw for most of it.
It's a tricky time for a lot of people.
At the start of it's like at the start of this year I kind of just picked up a pen again and like started, and I've done more. I'd drawn more in the first 2 months of this year than I had the entirety of last year.
Okay. That's interesting, isn't it? It's so interesting how lockdowns affected people in different ways. Because that was one of the questions I was going to ask you in terms of, as a freelance artist, did you find that it helped through lockdown, or did you find that it was one of them things that everyone else was sort of doing what they wanted to do and you were still doing work or whatever else?
I think like at the start of it, at least, there was a period where no one was spending money because no one knew what the future was going to be like.
Yeah.
And then like it's kind of stayed that way, honestly.
Yeah.
Like you get like people are kind of getting used to it, like remote working now, and like things are starting to open up again. Everyone's a bit braver now. Now that we kind of think we know what we're dealing with.
I think it's art can tend to be a luxury, can't it? And people sort of it's one of the first things that
Yeah, it is a luxury. Yeah, like it's not something you're gonna spend your last tenner on.
Yeah,
But
it's tricky.
I think the rich tend to have gotten through the pandemic okay.
Yeah.
So they might start spending some money again.
Hopefully everything gets back to normal as quickly as possible, I suppose. So what do you dislike about the art world?
I guess like it depends which art world, really. If we're thinking like real life, like galleries and exhibits and that kind of thing, I'd say the exclusivity of it.
Okay.
Because it seems to be that a lot of the time you do have to either be backed by someone quite well known or like have generated millions of followers before you actually get given a shot somewhere. And then again, like online, it's kind of the same thing, really.
Yeah, true. It's kind of
it's like you don't see success until you until you've gotten very lucky.
Yeah, it can be quite fickle, can't it? It can be like the right place, the right time.
It's like if you like I've known artists who like they've jumped on a meme, amassed thousands of followers, and then had to kind of keep up with that and that style in order to keep their followers happy. And you just get tired of it after a while because like art is like it's one muscle, so it's like you're exercising one muscle in the body for the rest of life, and you kind of think, oh, no, I want to work on something else. But then if you put that up, no one's gonna like it.
True. Yeah.
Because everyone's used to doing one thing.
That's a tricky question that I sort of throw them into it to try and not to try and catch you out, but it's interesting to see because people always go, oh, what's your favourite this and what do you like about this, and it's kind of I've seen something before about when you interview people and stuff. It's I don't want to ask the same questions. It's kind of so it is a difficult one. Miko in the chat's put, did you guys see the trademark situation with Banksy? I briefly seen something about it that somebody else has started using his style, haven't they? I'm not sure.
All right. No, I haven't seen anything about that.
That's a weird situation to be in because obviously Banksy can't run around going, "Hey, that's mine. Don't do that."
True.
Well, we'll see you in court. Well, maybe you won't, but I'm sure he's got a legal team that'll be looking into. But
oh yeah, he's got to have something.
Yeah, he's got to have some sort of a very.
Because I know he does think of these things ahead of time. Because like there was that whole thing of when someone sold one of his paintings.
Yeah.
Did you see that when it went to auction? As soon as the gavel hit the table, it shredded itself.
But because it wasn't supposed to stick, was it? It got stuck halfway through. So the person who got it was like, "Oh, that's great! It's like an installation." That wasn't the intention, but if you check out, have you ever seen Exit Through the Gift Shop? That's a really sort of insightful documentary into the street art world. It's a tricky one because it's an absolute minefield, isn't it? Street art, I suppose. Legalities and stuff, and
yeah, because I mean, if we're gonna get into the legal business of vandalism, it's it's an interesting one.
Miko's put, so the thing with the trademark was he couldn't get a trademark in Europe and Britain due to him being anonymous. True, yeah. And I think as soon as he lifts the veil of his anonymity, that's the end of his allure, I suppose. But he was able to get one in Australia. And Living Stories is put rip.
So I guess Banksy's moving to Australia.
Oh yeah, he's only going to be putting stuff on walls in Australia from now on. So yeah, it is. It's, as soon as I've been an anonymous artist and trying to trademark stuff, you might as well forget it, I suppose. Yeah, it's just Miko's put. Yeah, it's a strange one for sure. I think. I worked in Liverpool for quite a while, and there's a couple of Banksys there, and people have tried selling buildings with them on and doubling, tripling the price of the buildings. There was a derelict pub that he put a rat on, that was up for sale for years for a couple of just in the tens of thousands, and then as soon as he put that rat on it, they tried to sell it for like £1 million or something. But it's yeah, I think people have. And it's not even like he can come out or she. We don't even know if it's a she. Just assume that it's because it's a kind of a male sort of altered voice on the documentaries. But they can't even come out and tell people to stop selling their prints. It's tricky. So do you ever get people trying to take your artwork or copy your artwork? You ever found that, or is that something you haven't come across?
Well, not like copy and sell or anything. I've had a few people I found people using it as like profile pictures and stuff like that on social media, but I've been lucky enough that no one's tried to make a profit off me yet.
Yeah. Well, I ripped off one of your photographs today and shared it on our Instagram to advertise this stream. But as you'll read in our About page, it's completely not for profit, so there we go. So jumping back into, we got about 15 minutes or so left before the end of the stream, and I've got a couple more questions for you. So what do you feel your greatest strength is, and what is your weakness? What is your weakness, or one of your weaknesses?
Ooh.
It's like a proper interview, this, isn't
it? Yeah. Well, I like to think my strength is tonal assessment.
Yeah.
I guess. Being able to pick out values and match them.
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty good at that.
I'd agree with that. I think people in the chat would probably agree with that as well.
Weakness. There's a lot I'd say I'm not good at, or that I'm trying to get good at. Obviously it's relative when comparing it to the other things I can do. But no, I've played. I'm trying to get better at color, essentially.
Yeah.
Color theory is always a fun one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Artists are always their own worst critics as well. It's kind of like imposter syndrome is a huge thing in the art community, and being their own worst critic. You pointed out one thing, so that's why I asked that question, because especially for people who are starting off in doing art and stuff like that, is they always sort of criticize what they do, or it's not good enough, or whatever else. And that's why I asked for strengths and weaknesses, because you've just said you put one strength out and you were like, oh, there's loads of weaknesses. So it's kind of
it's very true.
Yeah, and it's something that popped up when I joined the Killer Whales group on Facebook. That was something that jumped out at me straight away, that people were posting there about imposter syndrome and stuff like that. And I think it's absolutely rife, isn't it, in the creative industries? People get that. Do you get imposter syndrome, or is that not something that you've come across?
Yeah. I suppose I'm lucky enough to have been to have had the support where I can kind of I know I'm not terrible. And because I've had like the people around me who've
Yeah,
supported me like in that kind of sense.
Yeah.
But no, there are days when like, or if you have a big opportunity, like,
Mm-hmm.
well, even like today,
Yeah.
when I was asked to come do this, and I was like, well, I'm not I'm not a big artist. I'm
Mhm.
not like, there are people much more deserving of this kind of attention than me.
No, I mean,
Um,
like we pick artists based on, usually we approach artists based on recommendations and things like that, and
mm.
you straight away, as soon as I put up a post to our students, who a wish list, who would you like to see, and your name was like the first, so it's kind of, I think that's a
Yeah,
good,
that
that's
kind of
kind
thing
of,
amazes me.
yeah, and it's, you never know who's thinking about you. That's the thing, isn't it? It's kind of like, so
Mm.
again, that was another
Yeah,
post that
it's
was
a
on
funny
that.
thing because like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a funny thing because like you said, it was Haley that introduced me to you. I know her because her husband is a guy I went to school with,
Yeah.
and he showed her my art.
Right.
And to think that people I went to high school with, to 14 years ago,
Yeah.
are still showing people my drawings.
Yeah.
It's like, and like I haven't. Well, I've stayed in touch with Ben, but
Yeah.
but not like we hang out maybe once a year. Like we go out for drinks at Christmas maybe.
Right.
But yeah, it's crazy to think that like there's a group of people who, like, when the subject of art comes up, my name is the first in their head, and that's amazing to me.
Well, people in the chat, it's definitely a well-deserved recommendation from Living of Stories. It's been a great, it's great watching your work, and your artwork is phenomenal. It's really good. I'm so glad that Haley sort of recommended you straight away. And this is how, we started doing a professional series now. I've started inviting more, because this platform was set up to originally have students on here, and students showcasing some of their work, try and build confidence and stuff like that. And then I wanted to, like, during the summer months, is bring in the professionals. And I think you've been a phenomenal first guest, and I'm so pleased that that Haley recommended you, and that we've now been able to follow you, and we can keep up to date with what you're doing. We've got a few things in people in the chat as well. Miko's put, imposter syndrome is very common in the IT world too. And then Living of Stories has put, are you tempted to redo pieces that you see have improved, since it seems that it's a relatively common thing to do? So once you overcome those weaknesses, I suppose, or those things that you think are weaknesses.
Yeah, I don't know if I've actually done that. I can't remember now. But I always like it's a weird thing. So I'll draw something similar, like it uses the same principles. I don't generally draw the same thing again, because I like to kind of move forward when it comes to this kind of thing.
Okay. It's interesting.
I definitely used. Yeah, I've definitely used some of the same principles in different drawings, just to see like how well I've improved.
So, what would your dream project be? If you're moving forward all the time, what is that golden goose, if you like? What would you love to work on?
For me, it's Pixar.
Well, okay.
Like, that has always been the dream since I was like 5 years old, watching Toy Story in the cinema.
You make me feel old when you say 5 years old watching Toy Story in the cinema.
What was I, 5? When did that come out?
Yeah.
I thought it was like 95, 96.
Yeah, it was early 90s.
Yeah, that's.
Do you ever apply to Pixar?
I haven't, no. Because again, imposter syndrome.
Yeah, well,
Like I don't believe I'm good enough yet. But like it's that kind of
own worst
confidence.
critic. So, dream job. You really want to work at Pixar, but never applied. I think that is
No.
that is your challenge off the back of this Twitch stream. We want to know how you get on with applying at Pixar. And just and Julian in the chat's put you are totally good enough. I think they'd be honoured to have you. I suppose it's kind of like, you know, you'd fit right in. I reckon if you watch some of them inside Pixar shows and stuff. I mean, absolutely. I think you should
I love that series.
definitely apply. They do a summer intern, I think, every year as well. 12-week internship. You never know.
Yeah, it's I'll have to start saving up.
Well, you worry about moving and relocating after you've got the job. That's how I see it anyway.
Yeah,
that's what I tell students. Apply for the internship. If you get it, then worry about funding a trip over to San Francisco and living there for a bit. Going sofa surf for a bit, yeah. So we are coming up. We've got about 7 minutes or so, because I do sort of end these around about 2 hours, because otherwise we could end up speaking. You know, I can take up all your time and we end up going all night. What is the best piece of advice you've ever been given that you would pass on now to somebody else who's watching this?
I'm not too sure, to be honest with you.
Don't go slashing people's artwork.
Well, I'd say that, but then again, that led me to where I am.
Yeah,
so.
I suppose, yeah. So has anybody sort of come out and give you a quote or said something to you that you thought, I'm going to live by that?
Nothing really noteworthy, to be honest.
Yeah. It's a tricky one, that, isn't it? I suppose it's a tricky question.
Yeah, because I don't feel like I've had like mentors in that fashion. Like I've I learned to like digital paint through watching YouTube tutorials and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not that I've had one piece of advice that has kind of stuck with me. It's just watching how other people have worked and copying it, essentially.
Amazing. The Living a Stories was put, looking at the detail Pixar put into some of their animations nowadays, you'll fit right in. I agree. I think you should absolutely apply. I'm trying to throw some silly questions in as well. What wouldn't you be able to do without? What is something in right now that you couldn't do without?
Oof. I mean, there's a lot of things, to be honest. So I'd say my PC, but I could always do with pen and paper.
Yeah, true. These are the silly questions coming in now. So what superpower would you have and why?
Ooh. I always fancied Dr. Manhattan's powers.
Wow, okay.
From
yeah. What?
It's like he can like manipulate matter, essentially.
Yeah.
So you can create anything and do anything. And that seems like a good thing to have.
Yeah. From Dr. Manhattan from Watchmen. Did you watch the latest series of Watchmen? I think it was on Sky, wasn't it, or something?
I haven't. I remember seeing it advertised and thinking I want to watch that, but I haven't gone around to it yet.
It's interesting. Certainly, it is good. It is good series.
I heard it was more faithful to the original stories.
Yeah, it was really good. Hopefully they'll do some more with it as well. Kiss my artichoke in the chats, but definitely keep applying at Pixar. And Living of Stories is put OP superpower. Yeah, I suppose that if you're gonna go superpower, go big with Dr. Manhattan. Miko's put best drink to have when drawing art, and worst drink to have when drawing art.
I suppose technically the best drink would be water, right? I'm partial to a Pepsi Max myself, but
according to I'm gonna get this wrong now. That was that footballer guy. Is it Ronaldo or whatever his name is, or someone who's just moved the Coke bottles? I have no idea, but he's moved Coke bottles and said drink water.
Oh yeah, I saw that clip. That was funny.
Yeah.
Oh, just imagining the Coke XX who paid millions to have those bottles there.
$4 billion drop in their shares. I'd be well annoyed, wouldn't you?
Oh man, yeah, that's bad.
Miko's put a hydro homie and Living the Stories worst drink, the accidental sip of paint water. Yeah.
Oh.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that.
Brilliant. And the last question I've got for you: what makes you laugh and what scares you the most?
Oof.
That's a dodgy question. That what makes you laugh, isn't it? It's kind of
yeah, anything funny, really.
Yeah. What would you say scares
I'm
you
not
the
too
most?
sure,
Have you got anything that scares you?
Yeah, lots of things.
The thought of coming on a Twitch stream and being asked questions like, "What makes you laugh? What makes you?"
I mean, not to take it to anywhere too deep, but I think the thought of never being considered a success by myself might be the scariest thing.
Yeah,
but
that's a scary thing for all artists. It's kind of. But I think everyone in the chat today and everyone watching would agree that your work is absolutely successful, and you've been we're coming to the end now. You've been a phenomenal guest. I'm so pleased that Haley recommended you to come on the stream. I absolutely think you should be applying at Pixar. In fact, I'm going to send you the recruitment every time I spot a job on Pixar. I'm going to send it you. And the things that are left to say from me now is thank you so much for sharing your artwork today. It's been a real pleasure. It's been great getting to know you and asking you, deep questions and silly questions. And I think you've given us a lot to take away from your tips in terms of highlights and shadows and things like that. So, people who are watching, people who are in the chat, head over to Dan's page. Hit him up with a follow on Instagram and check out his Twitch stream as well as it's Art Womble. Is it Womble? Art Womble.
Yeah.
And then what we'll do now is I'll throw up the end screen in a second, and then we will raid somebody and send you all off. Kismatichuk's put absolutely, Steve. I agree. So I think phenomenal guest, and thank you so much, and hopefully you'll come back on again maybe in a couple of months time and let us know how you get on with that Pixar application. Whether or not you're heading off to San Francisco. So thank you very much.
You'll be the first to know.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let me just whack that on. There we go.